Alright, welcome to this tutorial in which we're going to create a game where we need to clean up splatters which appear on the screen. So we're going to try to clean up as many as we can in 1 minute using the ghost effect, which is going to make the splats fade, and then if we wave our hand enough, eventually they will disappear. So we will be using our webcam to record this, but we're going to start with the mouse to get rid of them. Alright, so starting a new project, we're going to delete the cat. And then we are going to go into the paint symbol to create our first splat. So we're going to want to use the brush tool and just choose a color and choose the thickness that you want your pen to be. And just create yourself a splat. Okay, and I don't like that because I don't like how it's there. I'm going to just try that again, try to make it a little bit smoother. Alright, good enough. Maybe add a couple little extra marks here. Doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, there we go. So we've got the outline of our larger splat as a whole. We can always shrink this later on. We'll use the paint bucket tool to fill this all in. Okay, and now what we're going to do is make another splat costume. What you want to do is you want to click on the paintbrush tool here for a new costume, not down below in the new sprite. I want to create another costume. So this time we can draw another splat and choose a different color. Okay, and we're going to paint ourselves another splat, different shape than your last one. And use the paint bucket tool again to fill it in. Okay, create yourself another one. We're going to create at least 4 different costumes. Use pink this time. Try to make your splats a little bit different. Okay, there's my third, and I'll do one more costume with green. Oopsies. I forgot to hit the brush tool. Try that again. Okay, and fill it in. Alright, so we got 4 different splats now. Now it's time to add code to our splat sprite to make the game work. So we're going to follow a few steps here to make several clones appear and then disappear when the mouse pointer touches them. So go to the scripts tab and we're going to click on data and make a variable. The first one is going to be max splats. Okay, the next variable we're going to have is our score. And finally, splats on screen. Okay, we can uncheck these. We don't need them in our view there. Actually, we'll leave the score one checked so we can see what our score is as we play the game. Max splats is going to be the maximum number of splats that can be on the screen at any time. Splats on screen is the actual number of splats on screen at the moment. Alright, so let's start off with the events with a when clicked. We're going to go into looks and hide. And then we are going to set our max splats to 10. And then we will set our splats on screen to 0. And our set score will also be starting at 0. Now, there. Having 10 splats, my splats are quite large, so that should essentially fill the screen. I may find that I need to shrink them down a little bit later on. Alright, so go into your control. We're going to add a forever repeating loop. And we're going to use an if-then statement. Okay, so now we need an operator, and we're going to choose the one with this symbol here. So we're going to say that if our splats on screen is less than the max splats, so from our data, choose if our splats on screen is less than the max splats. In our looks, we're going to set the size. So 100%, they're going to be this big. So like I said, having them all that big is going to fill your screen quite fast. So I think what we'll do here is we'll choose a random. Have it choose randomly for us. So some are small, some are big, and we'll only have our percentages go from 10 to 25. So they'll be shrunk down for us. And I want those 4 costumes I made. I don't want always the same green splat to happen. I want to choose those costumes I made, so I'm going to also have them switch costumes. And I'll have it go randomly between the ones that we've created. So again, I'm going to choose pick random. I've only made 4 costumes, so I can only choose between the 1 to 4. If you want to make a lot more different splats, that's up to you. And then go into your motion and have it go to, we're going to have it choose our X and Y position. And again, I want it going all over my screen, so I'm going to have it randomly choose X values and Y values. So the maximum for our screen on the X is negative 200 to positive 200. And you can see that if I go over here and over here, you can see those X values. It says 223, but that's because my sprite would be overlapping at that point. My Y values, I'm going to go from negative 150 to positive 150. Actually, X, I think the max you can go, I thought it was 300, but no. Okay, so 240, and then you're off the screen. So we'll just make sure it stays on the screen here. All right, so then we're going to go into control and create a clone of ourselves. Now we need to add a second sprite, so when I start as a clone, I'm going to change the splats on screen to 1. So back in your data, change splats on screen by 1, and then we will show. Now I want to wait until I am touching, it's being touched by the mouse pointer. So I'm going to go into the controls and choose the wait until. Go into your sensing options and have it say touching mouse pointer. Once my mouse touches that splat on screen, I want to change my score. So then I'm going to go back to my data variables and I'm going to change my score by 1. So use the drop down to change that. And I'm also going to change the splats on screen by -1. Once I've done that, I'm going to add in a little sound effect. I'm going to play the sound pop. It's just the standard one here. You can go into your sounds up here into the library and choose a different sound if you wish. And then I'm going to delete this clone. All right, so let's run the game to test it out here. So I've got 10 splats on screen. When my mouse touches it, I get a pop. My score is going up here. Okay, so they're all pretty small, my splats on screen. So I might actually even want to increase my size depending on what you've done. Let's just go 30 to 60. I'm going to try that. Make them a little bigger. I don't know if that makes the game too easy or not. Maybe I'll just go 20 to 40. Oopsies. I'll leave it there so you guys can play with your sizing to see what you're happy with. All right, now we need to add a countdown timer so that we see how many points we can get in 1 minute. So we need to make a new variable. So go into your data. I'm just going to stop the game. Make a new variable and call this one countdown so that we know how much time we have left. So we do want to keep that checked off. I can position it a little bit better there if I like. And now what we need to do this puts a little bit pressure on the player to get as many as they can, is we want to add a script to launch the countdown. So go back, we're already in scripts, sorry. Go back to your events tab and we're going to start off another one when clicked. In the data, we're going to set the countdown to 60 for 60 seconds. You can put it for 30 seconds if you like, or longer, shorter, up to you. And then in the control, we're going to choose repeat until. And now we need an operator again. And again, we're going to choose that less than symbol. So we're going to repeat until our countdown is less than 1. In other words, once it hits 0, it's going to be done. Then in my control, I'm going to wait 1 second. And I'm going to change my countdown in the data by -1. After that, in my control, I'm going to stop other scripts in this sprite. So I'm going to put that at the very bottom. And I'm going to broadcast the message that time's up. So drag over broadcast message, although we're going to type a new message, time's up. All right, now I also need to put in that when I receive that message, I know what to do. So I'm going to just drag over when I receive the message, time's up. I want to delete this clone. So in controls, at the bottom, delete this clone. All right, let's just do a quick test. So my countdown is running. Okay, pretty easy so far, hitting as many as you can. It's going to be a little hard once you do it with the webcam. Perhaps you might be able to even clone it for getting points for just certain costumes. Make it a little harder. Okay, we'll just wait until that timer runs out. There should be a small problem. What happens when our time's up is that any leftover splats still to be cleared, we can still get them for points even though the game's over. So to prevent this we needed to add that tiny script to remove any remaining splats, and that's why I put this one in here. When time's up, I need to delete the clone. Otherwise, if I didn't have that, I would still have splats that I would be able to collect points for. Alright, so now we're going to add in a camera control. So you will need a webcam attached to your computer in order to do this part of it. So we're going to make a new variable, and we're going to call it difficulty. Okay, we're going to uncheck that, though we don't want to see that one. Now we're going to add another script going into events when clicked. I want to set the difficulty to 40. Because that was a pretty easy game. And then what I want to do is I'm going to turn the video on. So that's going to activate your webcam. Now to use the camera to delete the splats instead of a mouse, we have to change the when I start as clone script a little bit. So down here, when I have this wait until touching mouse, we're going to delete that block. Instead, I'm going to go into my controls and choose a repeating loop. And I'm going to change this number to 5. That means the clone is removed only after 5 motion directions, making it disappear gradually. Now I'm going to choose the wait until, and now I'm going to choose my operator again, this time with the greater than. And I'm going to go into the sensing options, and I want to choose the one that says video motion on this sprite to go into that first box. Okay, in the second box, I want to add in data. All right, now we can add in also a looks, changing the ghost effect as well. Where is it? There it is. And change the drop down from color to ghost. Okay, and we're gonna we're gonna change that to 20. Okay. Make sure that these other guys are still attached when you're done. All right, now let's run the game. Okay, is it not registering? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so if they're not really erasing when you're waving, trying to get rid of them, let's just stop. Then we can change that difficulty level and see if that helps a little bit. So up here, I'm going to go down and try it at 30. Still not working the greatest. All right, let's try 20. Definitely makes it harder to try to score some points. There we go. So I think, oh, here's the Pretty hard to do. Okay, I'm going to stop it. So I didn't get very many points. So play around with that difficulty level and see if you can get it to work to a level that you're happy with. What we could do actually so that it makes it easier while you're playing with this is let's go back to our data variable, or sorry, difficulty variable. Click on that one so it shows up on your game. And then I double mouse click on a Mac. For you guys, I believe it's a Control Shift or something like that. Change it to a slider, and that way whoever's playing your game can adjust that as they want when they're playing it to give them more options. Yeah, that's a bit better. So have them be able to adjust it as needed. You could add a countdown timer to warn people that perhaps their time is running out at the end. So if we wanted to do that, we could go into over where our set countdown script is. We'll add a couple more blocks in here. So after the change countdown by -1, let's add a control and if-then loop. And let's say if, let's go into operators with the less than. And in data, if our countdown is less than, depending how much time you want to give them as notice, maybe you're on a 10-second countdown or a 5-second countdown. So if you're running out of time, if you're less than 10 seconds, we're going to play a sound. So just go into your sounds now, and you can go into your library and choose a sound. Let's see. I want an end sound. I'm going to go into electronics, perhaps. How about, I don't like any of those. How about effects? Yeah, let's try a gong. I'm going to go with gong. Okay, so then back in your scripts, you'll be able to use the drop down to change that sound. There we go. All right, so just for the sake of running a test without it having count down 60 seconds, I'm just going to change this for 20 so you don't have to watch for 60 seconds and make sure that works. So once it hits the 10-second countdown, I should get a warning sound. Oh, I can't get any more. All right, so there we go. Pretty simple game. You can play with, maybe try to add in multiplayer or something like that if you want. But I do recommend this difficulty slider because it was a little hard with the webcam to get rid of the points, or just leave the webcam off altogether. So hope you have learned a little something anyways in coding, and enjoy. Have a great day.